Hello, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Jamie, and welcome to Zaku Farm. So, I know I don't show up on camera that much, but this is going to be something that we both have to get used to, as you will be seeing a lot more of me throughout the course of this build series, the subject of which being this year's Cerulean Project. But what is the Cerulean Project? Well, I'm glad you asked. The Cerulean Project is a build showcase which uses the topic of model kit building as a sort of stepping off point to raise mental health awareness. At the end of the Cerulean Project build window, all finished entries will be included in both a online showcase as well as a physical book which you can own. All book and merch sales go to the Trevor Project, which provides mental health resources for LGBTQ youth. It's a great cause and one I'm proud of being in for 3 years in a row. I will, of course, be including a link to the Cerulean Project website. I highly encourage everyone watching to check it out and support it if you can. There are very few rules to the Cerulean Project. The main ones being you use the year's build color, which does change every year. Year 1 was Cerulean, hence the name Cerulean Project, but this year is green. You also have to complete your build within the build window, which seems pretty obvious, and this year's one ends in November. So we have a lot of time to work on this thing. Much more time, I think you'll agree, than the week or week and a half I usually give myself to complete a project for the usual video. As a result, this is going to be much more intensive than what you see in the usual video. There's going to be a base of some sort. I think I'm going to keep this in 1/100 scale, and I'm looking, to work in a bit of a story. But that's all I know at this point in time, so I think it would be helpful to go over past entries to just sort of, identify any common themes, anything that will help me start work on this, and just sort of identify where I'm going with this project, because there's a lot to think about. Starting from the top, we have a piece I titled On Guard Till the End of Time. The kit I used in the build was the 1/100 Grays, and now some people have told me that they find the 1/100 and Full Mechanics IBO lineups kinda questionable, but I enjoyed the kit, I like it a lot. The color for that year was purple, and the general story I came up with was that we have the scouts coming across the Grays, standing guard, years after the war it was made for ended. It's very stoic and quite simple, although it is my first diorama, and for what it is, I like it a lot. It's actually a piece that I will come back and look at, even though it is on the older side. Moving forward, we have a piece I titled Like a Shooting Star. The kit I used in that was the high-grade Woundwort, and I am trying really hard not to get sidetracked to talk about AOZ and Woundworts in general. I will just say I like the kit. I wish it was a standard release. The color for that year was orange, and the general story I came up with was that we have this Woundwort being repurposed for mobile suit racing, and it's found itself on a debris-filled asteroid as a racetrack. On their own, both builds seem very different, like they have nothing in common, but after a little thought, I did notice some similarities. First, let's talk about color. So in both builds, the Cerulean Project color for that year is never the original color on that mobile suit. The Grays is of course the most obvious, with that purple being kind of like graffiti, but with the Woundwort, the orange was painted on pretty patchily in a way to show that this is a repaint over the service colors. In terms of themes, both have to do with death and rebirth. For the Grays, its life is over. It is an abandoned suit, standing guard, and an abandoned base. It is a shell of its former self. But that purple is there to give it a new role, which I did leave ambiguous. Is it an art piece? Is it a border marking? Who knows? For the Woundwort, its original career in the military is also over. It has a new life in expression and recreation, and there is that setting of the debris field turned race course. A debris field may be a place where mobile suits and other machines come to die, but in becoming part of it, they get to build that terrain. And both builds have that abandoned sort of vibe, which I do like and will probably continue with it. I do like the idea of having a set of common themes for my Cerulean builds, but with each new one each year, I'll expand on it in a different way. But all of that will be reserved for our next session. This is only an introduction after all. In the next video, I'm really aiming to figure out the direction this project will go in with the base layout and of course the kit itself. I'll also be looking to take you guys shopping with me so I can discuss materials in a bit more detail. I hope you found this style of video interesting, and I hope you'll come to enjoy this build series. I want something with a little less structure where I can just talk about the creative process bit by bit, rather than the usual technical walkthrough you guys are used to, except with footage I've hoarded over like 4 or 5 months, instead of footage I've had for like a week. I want this to flow naturally, so as a result, the videos are gonna flow naturally. There isn't really a set schedule for when these come out. You know, the only one I have is to complete this build before the build window ends. As usual, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one, whenever that is.